Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 8th grade concept of identifying functions. This is standard 8.5G in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 32 off the 2022 released STAAR test. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So we have 4 different graphs here, and we need to find the graph that does not represent y as a function of x. Now what exactly does that mean? Because that word is not on our mathematics chart. Well, when y is a function of x, it means simply this. Each x has its own y. So when y is a function of x, that means each time you plug in an x to some type of equation, it's going to lead to one y. So sometimes we'll see problems like this with just numbers, with some pairings, some mappings, and sometimes we'll just see graphs. So let's just take a look at the x's here. So if we were to graph the x's here, this isn't even necessarily connected, but we do have 5 dots. Right, so we've got -4, -1. We've got -2, 4. We've got 0, -1. We've got 2, 0. And we've got 4, 1. So what you see is you've got 5 different x's, and each x leads to its own y. So that means this is a graph. This is a function that works, even though it's not necessarily connected with a straight line. It is a graph of a function that works. So let's check G. Now what we're going to look here is we don't necessarily know every single point here, but we can kind of see the major ones that kind of cross some of our major points right there. And as you're just kind of visually looking across this line, you should see no parts, no x's that kind of double up. And so really what we can look at sometimes is, if it's a graph, we'll call it the vertical line test. So if your graph passes the vertical line test, I'm going to draw some vertical lines here. It means that that vertical line does not pass through the graph twice. Each time you draw a vertical line, it only goes through the graph once. That means that each x has its own y, and you're good. So G looks good as well. Now H is a little bit different because it obviously looks pretty straight, but we got a gap here. But we don't care about the gap. We're just looking to see, does each x have its own y? So it goes from the left side all the way to the 0, but then it skips the 1, goes straight to the 2, moves all the way over to the right side. And you could say, yes, each x has its own y. Even though there is a gap there, it looks good. So that means there must be something wrong with J. Let me show you how the vertical line test helps us. I'm going to draw these vertical lines. And you see where we have a problem right there. Because I've got 2 points right here. I've got -1, -1, and I also have -1, 1. So this doesn't work because I've got one x, -1, but it leads to 2 different y's. It can lead to -1, or it could lead to 1. And we need each x to lead to one y. That's what we need. And so since this does not pass the vertical line test, this is going to not be a function. Everything else is fine. All it has to do is break it once. But once it breaks that vertical line test, that is not a function because each x needs to lead to a y. And the answer is J.